Another interesting edition of Today in the News here on Vanguard Live, broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Of course, today is not going to be different from what we've been doing. We are going to be looking at some of the major stories that are making rounds on the national dailies across Nigeria. Of course, we are going to be starting off with the Vanguard this morning. And of course, let's see what the Vanguard is leading with this morning. Okay, well, Vanguard is still staying on the Niger impasse, and of course, it's saying that Sanusi meets junta leaders, briefs Tinubu. That story is on page 5 of the Vanguard this morning. Of course, that story is coming with a number of riders, and of course, one of them is don't adopt military means to force illegal government out of power. That's coming from a body, the Middle Belt body, telling President Tinubu, who also doubles as the ECOWAS chairman. Of course, the Nigerian Guild of Editors also called for strategic engagement and diplomacy in resolving the Niger crisis. Of course, you can pick up a copy of the Vanguard and see that story on the page 5. Okay, above the nameplate of the Vanguard, there's another one that, of course, would be of interest to you, and that is Emefiele asks court to stop FG from further prosecuting him. Emefiele is asking court to stop the federal government from further prosecuting him. Well, you can see that story on the page 8 of the Vanguard this morning. Also above the nameplate of the Vanguard is Kano CJ gives magistrate court 6 months to depose. Okay, dispose pending cases. I beg your pardon. Kano CJ gives magistrate court 6 months to dispose pending cases. That story is on page 13 of the Vanguard this morning. Okay, another story that I think would be of interest is the 2023 election. You have the Catholic bishop saying that all eyes are now on the judiciary. Well, in 2023 election, well, what the Catholic bishop actually meant by that, you would know if you pick up a copy of the Vanguard and see that story on page 11. Okay, let's quickly look at other story, making rounds on the front page of the Vanguard, and that is one of them is resident doctors suspend nationwide strike. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard this morning. Okay, there is a very interesting picture on the front page of the Vanguard, and that is the former emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, with the military leader of Niger Republic, posing for a picture. Just yesterday, he visited, the Niger junta, and of course, brief President Tinubu shortly after his visit there. Okay, so before we leave Vanguard, there is a sorry story here, and which is saying bandits kill tree in Taraba. Okay, so the issue of insecurity is also surfacing in that region. Okay, so let's quickly move on to other dailies that we have for review this morning, and that is let's quickly look at what the Punch is leading with. Okay, just like Vanguard, the Punch is also staying on the Niger crisis, and it's saying that the UN, African Union, of course, ECOWAS meet on next move as NSCIA wants FG. Okay, so let's look at the rider to that story. Major decision expects at Abuja meeting. That is that meeting is coming up today, and of course we do not know what to expect from that, but of course you would find that on Vanguard if there's any breaking story on that. Okay, Nigerian rebel vow to restore the post-president. Coup leaders accuse France of fueling crisis. Okay, so just yesterday, ex-rebel leader, vowed to restore the deposed president. Okay, this story is on the front page of the Punch. You can pick up a copy to see what that is all about. Okay, so let's quickly move. Okay, before we leave the Punch, there is very interesting story above the nameplate of the Punch, and that is El Rufai Wike meets Tinubu over ministerial confirmation. Well, El Rufai, ex-governor Wike meets President Tinubu over ministerial confirmation. That story is on page 7 of the Punch. Okay, let's quickly move on to other dailies, and we would be looking at the Guardian. Let's see what the Guardian is leading with. Long road to peace as ECOWAS school leaders maintain positions. Long road to peace as ECOWAS school leaders maintain positions. That is what the Guardian is leading with. Of course, you see a picture of the former emir of Kano, Lamido Sanusi, one with the military leader of Niger, and of course another with the president of Nigeria. Okay, earlier we said that after Emir Sanusi left Niger, he came to Nigeria to brief President Tinubu on, the meeting he had with the military leaders there. Okay, so we move on quickly to the Nation because of our time. And of course, the Nation also is staying with the Niger coup, and it's saying that Islamic clerics weighed in to prevent military action. Islamic clerics weighed in to prevent military action. All right, that story is on the front page of the Nation. Okay, before we go, there is one interesting one here, and it's saying that APC replaces Beta Edu, Kyari, and others. These people have been nominated as ministerial. Oh, okay. I think they made the presidential ministerial nominees list, and so they have to be replaced by the party. So you can get more on that if you pick up the Nation this morning. I'm afraid that is all we have for you on the newspaper review, and we'll be back shortly for analysis with a very interesting guest who is going to be dissecting some of these major lead stories to you. Do not forget to, of course, like and share this, and of course follow us on all our platforms showing there on your screen. We will be back shortly for the analysis. All right, so welcome back, and of course it's still Vanguard live, broadcasting to you from Lagos Southwest, Nigeria. Of course, it is the analysis section at the moment, and we have a very interesting guest who is joining us live via Zoom, and he is in the person of Mr. Oludare Mayowa. He's the publisher, Global Financial Times, Global Financial Digest, if I got that right. Mr. Oludare, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, it's nice to have you again. Well, a lot is happening in the Sahel region, and I'm sure you are also following, some of the latest thing that is happening. Just this morning, the military junta in Niger formed a new government just this morning, and yesterday Emir Sanusi met with the leaders and of course briefed President Tinubu. What do you make of all of this? There seemed to be a dead end to negotiation, diplomatic moves and all of that. What can you make of the latest happening in Niger Republic?
Thank you for having me again. When you look at what's happening in Niger, our neighbor here, it's not isolated for what has happened around that region. Remember Mali, remember Burkina Faso, remember other regions that have been taken over by military. We African have a history of military coup, in last 3 decades or so. And when you trace the background, you understand that these are basically as a result of poverty in the continent or in the sub-region, so to say. And until our democracy has not provided the right dividend for the people, and has become so costly and become so impoverished for the people. So, seeing Niger following suit, you are not surprised because people will always embrace the alternative, especially when what they are trying, what they are practicing is not paying off, it's not delivering what their expectation. And I think that's what is happening in Niger. If you follow the trend carefully, you know that many people in the country have been rallying around the military junta and supporting the ouster of the former leader. So it's an indication that they are very popular. Or why are they popular? They are popular because the post leader was not delivering to the people. Poverty all over the place. So I'm not surprised, and I know that many people in the region are not surprised as well. And I believe that other leaders in the region should be taking a cue from that, and they begin to restructure their country in such a way that the masses, they give the masses the opportunity to breathe.
Okay, sir. So what I'm looking is, you just said that, we have same crisis in Mali, Burkina Faso, and all of that. Let us look at the French influence in these West African, French-speaking countries. What is really happening? Are we looking, or is it that the French is actually losing, a grip on this country, on its, on some of these countries in West Africa? Of course, we know that, these countries are former, colonies of France. What is really happening? Because it seems that France is gradually losing its old, the connectivity is no longer there, with this country. What exactly is happening? Are we looking at economic, influence of some of this, maybe the Russian government, the Chinese government, and all of that? What exactly is causing, all of this?
So, we have to look at it from an economic perspective, really. Apart from the poverty ravaging the countries we have mentioned, you clearly see the impact of France in this region. Don't forget that France is a colonial master for these countries, and even when they gain independence, they are still tied to the pawn strings of France. And these countries are mineral rich, uranium and the rest, which have been mined by Chinese, by other vested interests. So it's a kind of it's a kind of a rebellion against the influence of this country, who have been plundering the nation for many years, yet they are not delivering the expected dividends. So to say, they are taking out their solid mineral, for example, which are very rich, and yet they are not paying the market price, for example, and they are determining what they are giving back to that country. So it's part of the rebellion of the people against the colonial masters, the influence of the colonial master in that country. I call it the influence of the Russian bloc, trying to upstage the West within that bloc. So we cannot rule out all this contention for power and economic space in that place. But they by and large, if the people are satisfied, if people are really enjoying the dividend of democracy in that region, there will be less support for military takeover.
Right.
Really.
Okay. So,
but like I said,
yes. Yeah. Okay. So, like you said, it seemed as though the Russian bloc, and the Western bloc happen to have a clash of interest, and if we are not careful, the Niger Republic might actually, become a kind of war theater. Would you say that ECOWAS should be more careful on how it handles, this particular crisis in Niger? What would you say? How would you rate, or what suggestion would you have for ECOWAS, in trying to manage the impasse in Niger?
Yeah, I believe the ECOWAS leaders should tread with caution, really. I know they have gotten so many advice. Their first misstep had to be reversed because issue a threat of 7 days reversal of the coup and military intervention has not really helped the issue and could not help the issue. Because number one, we are probably the only country that is belong to this part of the West African that is border the Niger. The other one are Mali, Burkina Faso too. They are ruled by military government who are defining ECOWAS treaties as well. And the other border is Cameroon, which is belong to Central African Republic. So in our world, the burden of intervention is heavily tilted upon Nigeria. And Nigeria is fighting its own internal war of Ukwara, ISWAP, and the rest. And when you look at the population in Nigeria, they are comprised of mainly people from the northern part of the country. They are the same family, they are the same people, they speak the same language, they belong to the same religion. And I'm sure they will not look. That's why you are seeing EMIA going. That's why you are seeing all those Islamic leaders going to intervene, trying to negotiate with the military junta. They will not in any way support Nigeria leading ECOWAS war to go and topple a military coup in that place. So what we need to do is to engage this leader in such a way that their rulership should be short. You know, we cannot guarantee that, and should be meaningful, impactful on the people. And that's the only way we can. I mean,
if you are saying that is the only way, to resolving the crisis in Niger, do not forget that a delegation of ECOWAS led by Nigerian former leader Abdulsalam Abubakar, went to Niger, and from the report we got was that the delegation was rebuffed by the military junta in Niger. And now, just yesterday, a former emir of Kano State, right, visited the military leaders in Niger Republic. And just this morning, they are forming a new government. So does it mean that diplomatic efforts might actually fail in the end, or it is not working? And maybe that is why the presidency clarified yesterday. I mean, the Nigerian, government clarified yesterday that the president is not ruling out military option in Niger Republic. And also, Nuland, the U.S. Department Secretary, said that they may have to consider, invading Niger Republic. Don't you think all of this is coming? This military threat is coming because diplomatic efforts seem not working in this Niger crisis?
Yeah, I agree with you to some extent. The issue here is that when you talk of diplomatic intervention, it's not the military option alone. It's not reversing what the expectation was the major step where I see there, that the military should reverse their coup and restore the hostile leader. That was the expectation of the ECOWAS. But they have not really gone into negotiation with those people. In restoring the hostile leader may complicate issue in that country. They have to look at it from other perspective. They were hostile because of a particular issue, and restoring them may lead to probably eliminate all the military that there. So they will not want to hit their position in that realm. So military intervention in that place is very complicated, and I'm sure Nigeria will not dare to just go into that place.
No, Nigeria is not. It is not Nigeria that is trying to, invade Niger Republic. It is ECOWAS.
It is Nigeria.
No, it is ECOWAS. It is ECOWAS.
When talk of ECOWAS, look at Liberia, for example. With Nigerian troops contribute a bulk of the troops we sent to Liberia.
But it is still under ECOWAS. Whether we contribute large number of troops or boots on the ground or not, or we finance it directly, we should be clear on this, that it is ECOWAS and not Nigeria trying to invade Niger.
Who pay the piper, dictate the tools? Who, for example, who is the president, who is the leader of ECOWAS, for example? President is Nigerian president. So the ECOWAS will not take any decision unless they have the sanction of Nigeria. So it is very clear that either you like it or not, Nigeria is going to fight a proxy war in that place.
Right.
Which is not in a good.
Okay, so Mr. Odai, let's quickly come back home. Because it seems as though we have a number of issues that is, that are actually bedeviling us in this country too. And we shouldn't leave some of our issues and then, try to dabble into some international thing. Of course, the resident doctors. It's another front burner issue for us in this country. Just yesterday, they said they have suspended the nationwide protest, but strike continues because the federal government has not met their demands. What is really happening? Tell us what you know about, this protest, and of course the strike that they have said is, they are going ahead with it.
the issue of the doctor is very pathetic. It's a very critical situation that our government is playing a game with them. Today, Nigeria is short of medical personnel. The bulk of Nigerian trained doctors are migrated to Western country today. I have interaction with some senior official of ex-ministry some times ago. We are talking about the desperation of government trying to get some, even in some of the hospitals today, they are manned by students, medical students from Lasut, from Lut. Some of them are working round the clock because there are not enough doctors in those hospitals. Again, most of them are migrated out of this country for a greener pasture, and the remaining one are still looking out to go. Today, if you go to hospital, the waiting time is long. Even to conduct surgery for people today is very difficult because you have three specialists doing those things before, you remain only one. And they have people and the rest. So these are things we are battling with in the health sector. And government need to look at it critically and see how they can address this number one personnel shortage in the sector. Because if you are not treating your doctor right, other countries are willing to take them. Don't forget, UK is still taking more for our doctors. Same for other countries, Western country, and we are not treating the one we have in a good manner. We are not addressing their issue, their welfare, and the rest. You still want them to continue to work. Most of these, I have a friend that is the daughter was a medical doctor, a medical student, working around the clock, not graduated yet too. And they were already deployed to work in this.
But you seem to have problems with medical students, working round the clock, student doctors, as it were, working round the clock and all of that. Are you saying that most of the physicians we have in our hospitals are quack? Is that what you are saying?
No, not quack. I'm not saying quack. What I'm saying is that you are seeing in training. What was also ought to be doing?
But if you have specialists
who are already working,
no, Mr. Luda, if you have specialists going, seeking greener pasture abroad, going to the UK, the US, like you say, and then you have people that have lesser experience, years of experience, working around the clock, you're left with, well, I don't know, you are left with inexperienced hands.
Don't call them quack.
Because you are left with inexperienced hands, right?
Yes, but
that's a problem itself.
They can do.
But that's a problem itself.
Yes, there's a challenge, it's a major problem. But that will understand there's a limit to what they can do in the hospital. They can only attend to some minor cases. For example, some of them cannot carry out holistic surgery.
So they cannot attend to minor. I mean, some very urgent cases.
When you require a specialist, a medical student cannot attend to that.
So are you saying our hospitals now are just dead? How should I put it?
I won't say that.
No, I'm trying to choose my words, so that I'm not misquoted.
No, we are in critical situation in this country today.
Right.
And that's why the government need to address the issue. Because the way we are going, if you are not taking care of our medical doctors who are still available here, the young ones among them, even the medical doctor students we are talking about, as soon as they graduate, they are looking outside. So we are left with a few hands to handle the multitude of patients they have in the hospital. And how can they go around? How can they do it? How can they be efficient? How can they be effective? They are being overworked.
And we also learned that the salary structure is which ought to be reviewed, because part of the agreement was that every five years, their salary structure is going to be reviewed. Unfortunately, we heard that the government has actually reneged on that promise, and so it is one of those things they are actually pressing for. It's quite unfortunate. I would have loved you to explain more for us, but we hope that in the coming days, the new administration is going to have ministers manning the health ministry and all of that, and other ministries, and of course we hope that we would have light at the end of this tunnel. Okay, so let's quickly move on to other story. The subsidy removal has occasioned a lot of economic hardship on Nigerians, and at the moment, there is a sad news this morning that cooking gas, which many Nigerians are now using, the price is expected to rise again next week. This seems to be a very unfortunate development, coming forward. What do you make of, increase again in the, for the cooking gas? I mean, consumers that are using it are not going to be finding it funny.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate issue. But when you look at the development in the oil sector, you can find consonance in what is happening at the price level at the LPG, LNG sector. LNG, which is the Nigerian gas producing company, declared force majeure since October, and they had to extend it again this month because of what they are what they're talking about. The upstream sectors, I mean, gas supply are not there. Why are they not there? Because they are not getting enough supply from upstream. For example, because of the attack on the pipeline. And we have not resolved the oil theft pipeline vandalization in the Niger Delta. This will ultimately affect the production in some of these plants we have in this country. And if you have problem with production locally, we have to resort to importation. And if you have to resort to importation, then we are talking about dollars naira exchange rate. These are to have their implication on the cost. So these are the challenges that bedevil the sector, and which need urgent intervention by the government. We need to holistically address the issue of oil theft, restore production capacity in that sector, so you can have more foreign exchange, for example, so that the LNG and the other production gas producing company will ramp up their productions, and we can have enough supply to domestic users. Otherwise, price continue to go up because we can't help. If you are importing, we are importing at the exchange rate of 920 or 700 at the official maybe of 700 plus $2 at the official market. These are the factors that are affecting the prices locally. Now that's the same factor affecting fuel at the pump price of fuel in the country too. So government to address some of this issue holistically rather than just doing a catch up and that me approach to solution.
All right, so Mr. Oludare, before I let you go, let's quickly touch on politics, right? El Rufai, Governor Wike yesterday met with the president, and the National Daily is reporting that that meeting was basically about the ministerial confirmation of ex-governor of Kaduna State, Mr. Nasir El Rufai. Do you think what played out in the National Assembly then was anything to go by? If it is anything to go by, do you think it is worth it? Because I really do not understand why. Okay, let me put it this way. What happened in the National Assembly, concerning ex-governor El Rufai, was basically because of security clearance and all of that. And people are saying that this man was governor for 8 years, and then until when he was nominated and all of that, and now there are security issues and petition and all of that. People are saying that it should have been confirmed, right? Even some top members from the opposition, like Dr. Donyo Kukpe said, he has the capacity to deliver and all of that. Now the question is, should we jettison certain reports, even if the individual is really, really, capable of delivering? What do you make of all of the drama up to this point?
Yeah, for El Rufai, I'm sure it's all drama. At the end of the day, we resolve the issue. The National Assembly will confirm him and become Minister of Federal Republic at the end of the day. Because El Rufai is too strategic for the President Tinubu in a way. I'm sure they are so beyond the issue of security clearance and the rest. There are a lot of politicking going on, and I'm sure there are people to pay him back in his own coin. Don't forget, he played a prominent role in the politics of APC, and don't forget his role too in the Kaduna, the Southern Kaduna, and the mainstream is the Muslim ticket and Muslim comment video and the rest. But like I said, by and large, they will resolve their issue. Politicians have a way of resolving their own issue, and eventually it will be confirmed, and we all go back to where we are coming from.
Well, I'm afraid that Mr. Oludare Mayowa, we would have to end it here on this note. It was nice having you around, and of course, we hope to have you, around next week. Okay, I can see something at the background there. The conversation.
Okay.
Well, what's the conversation about? Would you like to quickly tell us one or two things about the conversation before we let
Yeah,
you?
that's my latest book.
Right.
The conversation talk about relationship, families, and the rest. It's a title that really marital issue and relationship issue actually,
Right.
and address so many issues in the family.
Okay, so
And
what informed you coming up with the conversation? Have you experienced couples breaking up and some marital problems lately from
yeah,
people
yeah,
you know?
I'm a counselor in my church,
Right.
and I talk to so many couples. And in my community, I'm a community leaders, and I've seen a lot of issue around family.
So
And in my interaction and my discussion with people, in my engagement with people, I've seen a lot of issue, and I try to look at those issues critically and what are the
okay, so in less than
problems.
30 seconds, can you tell Nigerians and indeed the world, what do you think is the major cause of divorce? Now, like, of course, that is divorce is quite prevalent in our society. What exactly do you think is the major cause of divorce?
There are multiple reasons why people divorce. Most importantly, that people are not contented with what you have. When you are married, you are looking out there until you have understanding and communicate. Anytime you engage in communication, you solve a lot of problems. People are not talking; they have multiple issues. But when you keep talking about your issue, there's always a way to resolve them, and
Right.
that's what actually conversation about. Conversation, have dialogue on whatever issue you are having. Discuss it.
Right.
Talk about it.
Right.
And solution will come out of your discussion.
Right. Many thanks, Mr. Oludari Mayowa, for having you on the show. Many thanks.
Thank you very much for having me today,
Right.
and have a lovely day. And regard to everyone behind the scene.
Right. Thank you. All right. So, of course, that is all we have for you on Vanguard Live this morning. Of course, today in the news was the show, and my name remains Ido Bankole. Of course, we've been speaking with Mr. Oludari Mayowa, publisher, Global Financial Digest. Of course, he has been giving us some very inciting analysis of major happenings as we have them on the front page of major dailies in Nigeria today. Do not forget to like and follow us on all our platforms currently showing on your screen. And of course, share this video. Until we meet again tomorrow, I remain Ido Bankole. Thank you very much for watching.